Boy, it's really fascinating to see the Boston Red Sox playing their best baseball of the season at this time of year with everything that's going on with this club. The youth movement is going full blast as far as everyday position players are concerned, as far as starting pitching is concerned. Boston has turned a leaf here this month of August, and they can't play any better. Don't look now, but Boston's only 3 games from climbing out of the AL East cellar, a spot that they seem to have cemented for the entire regular season. But at 60 and 69, they're now just 3 games behind Tampa Bay and Baltimore. They could climb out of there. They've been great second half of the season. They've been especially good their last 10 games. They're 7-3. They've come in and done damage to the New York Mets, a team that was destroying opposition and certainly had a bandwagon rolling. But Boston's come in minus a DH and been able to win every game in this series thus far. Today they'll send Wade Miley to the hill against Noah Syndergaard. You take a look at Boston's offensive numbers through the month of August, and I think that's what's most impressive about this team because they are so young. But the core of young guys has led the way to 150 runs scored this month, to a 302 batting average this month, 379 on base percentage, and 870 OPS for the month. Simply incredible numbers put up by the Boston Red Sox. I don't think anybody expected that from them offensively, but they continue to do it. They won again last night, scored 6 runs. Here they get to face Syndergaard, a guy who, even with all his accolades, has had some problems lately. 29 innings pitched. In his last 29 innings pitched, he's allowed 8 home runs. And Boston has guys very, very capable of hitting the long ball. So for Syndergaard, a power pitcher, certainly hasn't disappointed there. He's got 126 strikeouts this season in 115 and 2/3 innings, but he has not lasted beyond the 5th inning in 3 of his last 4. And if Boston is capable, it's a big if, but if Boston is able to run him out of the ball game after 5 innings, the Mets bullpen comes into play, and we've talked about that all week long since the start of the Phillies series. The New York Mets bullpen is extremely fatigued. They had to go get Bartolo Colon to throw some relief yesterday. He threw 11 pitches. Eric O'Flaherty, 3rd relief appearance in the last 4 days. Carlos Torres has thrown 3 of the last 4 days. Robles thrown twice in the last 3 days. Tyler Clippard got a day of rest yesterday. That's a big plus for this New York Mets team. And Familia had a day of rest as well. But that bullpen is shaky at best. And if Boston can be patient enough to get Syndergaard out of there. Remember, they did this with Matt Harvey the other night, Friday night. Just outlasted New York. They finally got Harvey out of the game. They forced that game into extra innings. They grinded. They wound up with a 5-3 victory. I think this scenario plays very much like that one Friday night did. Umpire here in this case is a over umpire. In fact, Joe West is calling overs at the 3rd highest rate of all umpires this season. Joe West, 27 home plate assignments, 18 games up and over the total, 9.3 runs scored in those games. So for Noah Syndergaard, having an over umpire, not exactly a help for the youngster. Like I say, his strikeout numbers, his stuff, certainly when you watch him throw, no disappointment there. He's just had some struggles getting through innings. The pitch per inning count in his last 2 games, an identical 19.2 pitches per. That's way too high for a pitcher to last. You go back to his start 4 starts ago against the Tampa Bay Rays, and he threw 24.5 pitches per inning. So 3 of the last 4 starts, as I said earlier, he hasn't made it out of the 5th inning. But you can see they've been such a struggle because he's thrown so many pitches. Very tough for Syndergaard to last under those conditions. He's got to find a way to become more economical. Boston has always had the philosophy of patience, so we'll see if they exude that patience here today. I think Syndergaard a little bit better, obviously, at home than he has been on the road, and that's probably to go without saying for young pitchers, but when you take a look at the splits, you see the reason for liking Noah Syndergaard today. He's 7-1 at home with a 1.82 ERA. He's 1-5 on the road with a 4.91 ERA. That separation of over 3 runs certainly eye-opening. So you've got contradictory stuff here. You've got a kid who has struggled in starts, getting out of innings, using too many pitches, but then you've got a kid who has just excelled amazingly at home so far this year. Big price tag attached to him though, so that 7-1 home record with the 1.82 ERA comes at the price of an opener of $1.80. It's been bet down. People on Boston as we get closer to first pitch. The number here now, Syndergaard minus 160, might still be a little bit high. Wade Miley had a bad start his last time. Wade Miley, very predictable, a guy who gets bashed probably once every 4 starts, gets hammered, and then comes back and throws extremely well. So I think Miley probably has a good game here. If Syndergaard does the same, you could be looking at something identical to Friday night. It's an interesting contest. I didn't play it either way, but I can't fault bettors who are looking for Boston to grind it out against Syndergaard and somehow, some way, find a way to get into that bullpen and win the game. At the end of this game, Boston does become a favorite. There's no doubt about that, because when the bullpens match up, Boston is in better shape. We'll see how this one goes. See if Syndergaard can continue that home dominance.